This is an interview with a UReach student. What encouraged you to go to UReach?
When I dropped out of school, I really didn't want to work yet, so UReach seemed like a good idea.
Do you think that smaller groups work better?
Yeah, because it gives the teacher more time to talk to everyone and get around and help more people so that we can get our work finished.
Okay. You get a training allowance. If they were to stop your training allowance, would you still attend UReach?
Yeah, I probably would, because it's a lot better than school. You get more attention, and it's so much easier because you don't have to do your exams at the end of the year. You can do like your work throughout the year, and then it's like examined at the end of the year.
Okay. What was it about mainstream school that didn't quite work for you?
There was like too much work to squeeze into like 1 year, and it was too hard. There's too much pressure on the students, and I couldn't stand it. Like.
Okay. In your opinion, do you think some students get lost in the crowd when in larger class sizes in mainstream?
Yeah, because like the teacher, like you'll call the teacher down to help you with something, and then someone else will call them, and they'll go over to them, and then before you know, it's the end of the class, and you haven't got a clue what's going on.
Okay. In your opinion, is bullying more common in UReach or mainstream?
It's more common in mainstream school because there's so many more students, so the teachers like they can't focus so much on that. They're more worried about the schoolwork, so they haven't really got the time to be worrying about that sort of thing.
What do you hope to achieve when you finish UReach?
I want to go to college and stuff.
And B?
I don't know, yeah.
Okay. What improvements do you think UReach could make?
Bring more drugs awareness schemes into it so people know more about that sort of thing. And I'd say that's it, because like there's really no problems with it.
Okay, thank you. And now we're going to have an interview with a mainstream student. Do you think hours in mainstream are too long?
Yeah, I think hours in mainstream are way too long for students, especially when you're doing your state examinations, like the junior cert and the leaving cert.
Okay, in your opinion, does bullying go unrecognised sometimes in school?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think when you get older it's as common. Like when you get 17, 18, it's not as common. But I think especially when you're really, really young, like my brother's in first year now, and I'd say there's a lot of bullying that goes on that they wouldn't notice. Like you can tell, like people don't have friends and people laugh at each other and they think it's funny, and some people do think it's funny, and maybe it is funny to other people, but I would kind of count it as bullying.
Okay, what do you think is lacking in the traditional system of teaching?
I think there should be different options for students, like subject-wise, because I think we have a lot of options for subjects, but there's not what students want to do. For example, students might be studying stuff like economics and business, but after school they want to go into something completely different, like music or fashion or loads of different things that you can get degrees in now. But schools is just very old-fashioned. It just kind of needs to be updated, I think.
Okay, does it bother you to wear a uniform? Do you think it's a good idea?
It does sometimes, but I kind of think it's really practical. Last week I was going to Grimes in the institute, and I was going to school for study stuff, but I had to wear my clothes every single day, and I thought it was the most painful thing ever, because it's really hard to get up early and study and do whatever, like pick out your outfit every single day in the morning. It's kind of time wasting, I kind of think, so I think it's really practical.
Okay, you're doing the Leaving Cert this year. How are you finding it?
At the moment, very, very stressful, because there's only 6 weeks left from yesterday, so there's a lot of pressure. I think there's too much pressure on students that are doing the Leaving Cert. I've got my course, so I don't really need to be too stressed about it, but I still want to do well, and I think there's just too many subjects to be able to study and focus and to do well. I think that we should have less pressure, and it should mean as much as people think that it does. I don't think it means that much, but a lot of my friends do. So,
what's your positive opinion on what you get out of school?
I think it's great to develop your social skills. Like, you know how to handle people, you know how to be with people. Like, you're forced to be with people that you get along with, you're forced to be with people that you don't get along with. So it's really practical for stuff like when you go to college or when you get a job, because you're not always going to be in a happy situation with people that you get along with, or in a situation that you have to stand up for yourself, or maybe that you have to make yourself be heard if you're kind of a quiet person. So it's kind of great to develop your social skills and maturity.
Okay, thank you. This is an interview with a UReach teacher. What is UReach and what does it offer to young people?
Well, at UReach, the curriculum is designed to meet the needs of unemployed young early school leavers, usually between the age of 15 to 20. It's really an opportunity for second chance education and training. So by offering FETAC level 3, 4 and 5 in like a variety of different subjects, that offers it in junior cert, leaving cert applied also, and it gives students the opportunity to come away with official certification in topics like they're interested in.
How do students find out about Youth Reach?
They usually find them out through education officers, social workers, or by word of mouth from their friends or families, or in general people they know that have gone there.
How big are classroom sizes?
In most centres they're quite small, usually between 7 and 15.
What are the drawbacks and what is Youth Reach lacking?
The lack of resources. Some of the smaller centres around the country wouldn't have as many resources as the bigger ones, for example literacy programmes.
What challenges do you face in your job?
I suppose a challenge would be to balance students' learning abilities in a classroom setting, and also at times to motivate them.
Is bullying common in Youth Reach?
No, not really, because the centres are usually quite small, so it usually doesn't go undetected for too long, because the teachers and students kind of talk quite openly and are quite friendly with each other, so they get to know if something is wrong with one of the students.
Do you agree with the phrase, one size doesn't fit all when it comes to education training?
Absolutely, 100%. In education, I think it needs to be adapted for certain types of personality, certain types of learning abilities. So absolutely, it's mainstream school isn't for everybody, Youth Reach isn't for anybody. So it's great that there is other options.
Where can the level of respect break down between teachers and students?
In my opinion, I think that the level of respect in Youth Reach is much higher than in mainstream, because it is such a small group and teachers and students usually get on a lot better.
And now we're doing an interview with a mainstream teacher.
In your opinion, do you think that school hours are too long for students?
No, I wouldn't think they're too long. Maybe for first years or first to third years they could be cut a bit shorter, but for fifth and sixth years that are getting ready to go into the world, they have to learn what a full day is, so I think it's okay that way.
Oh, okay, thank you. Are there many students in your class? Do you think that students can get lost in such big class sizes?
Yeah, there is. In some of my classes there is over 30, which is unfortunately it's the students that lose out in those big classes.
In your opinion, does bullying go unrecognised in school sometimes because of the big class sizes?
Bullying doesn't go on when the teacher is in the classroom. It goes on in the hallways, outside the school. So it's very hard to police, and I would say that unfortunately a lot of it goes unrecognised.
What do you think is lacking in the traditional system of teaching?
I think it should be more practical. Less emphasis on the reading and writing, and a bit more practical, a bit more field work in a lot more subjects.
So do you think there should be different type subjects, like the English way, the way they have, let's say, nursing after the junior cert?
Absolutely, yeah. Make it more kind of vocation centred, where you're maybe not aiming to go into a profession, but you're trying out different things.
Do you think that the junior cert exam should be terminated?
No, the junior cert exam is it's good. It could be changed a bit. Nothing's perfect. I'm not gonna, but it's a lot more up to date than the leaving cert. I'd feel.
Okay. In your opinion, do you think that there actually is a lot of pressure on leaving cert students?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it comes from all angles. And the biggest problem is the pressure that students put on themselves. And I think all the talk about exam stress stresses kids out more than anything, which is unfortunate. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And do you think that the course for the leaving cert is a bit too long?
No, I don't think it's too long. I think it's maybe a little bit too broad.
What factors do you think lead students to being less motivated in school?
I'd say the biggest factor is students trying to find their own identity and stuff like that.
And what's the most challenging part of your job, would you say?
In the classroom, it's maintaining students' trust.